AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Goodwood. Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Muso.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Kyle Wood from Athlon is going to be here in 13 minutes. He's not super high on LSU. We'll ask him why. It's coming up here in about 13 minutes from right now. Big news around the New Orleans Saints. Nick Underhill and Teron Armstead reporting that Alvin Kamara and the Saints have agreed to a new reworked contract. We do not yet know the terms of that contract. But it is this was an obvious, and there were only two ways that this was going to end for Alvin Kamara. He was not going to play under the existing terms of his deal. Remember, the Saints used that seldom used restructuring mechanism for Kamara a couple of months ago. And I always say actions speak louder than words. You don't go through the process of doing that restructure if you plan to have Alvin Kamara on your roster at his contract number. Because effectively, that restructure allowed the Saints to move on from Kamara without really a financial penalty. Ross Jackson had a great, if you're a total cap nerd, Ross Jackson had a great write-up on that at louisianasports.net several months ago. If you want to find it, you can Google it. So it was either going to be Kamara was going to be gone or he was going to remain in New Orleans under a new reworked contract, effectively taking a pay cut. And my guess is this new contract is going to be a pay cut for Alvin Kamara. They certainly aren't paying him more, but we'll see. And so that answers one of the other big questions this offseason, which of course was Cam Jordan going to be back? We now know he is on a one-year deal. Was Kamara going to be back? Well, he is now on a reworked deal. It's so interesting because New Orleans, I've said this often, but for as undisciplined as they were for years with how they restructured contracts with dead money and everything, the quote-unquote cap hell, when it comes to free agents, they are uncomfortably rigid. Like they have a number and that is it. Whether it's what they're going to pay an incoming free agent, what they're going to pay their own players, like their number is in, they're not going above. And we've seen it. Guys like Mark Ingram and Marcus Williams and Alante Taylor and a year ago, Paulson Adebo. And, it happened this year with DeMario Davis. It's how the Saints operate when it comes to dealing with free agents. So, I feel like I know what's going to happen with Chris Olave. So I'm not sitting here pounding the table for what the Saints should do because I feel like it doesn't matter what I say. I know what they're going to do. They're going to make him one of the highest paid receivers in the NFL. The New Orleans Saints are going to make Chris Olave probably one of the top 10 highest paid receivers in the NFL. Spotrac puts his valuation about $33 million per year. That will put him right at the bottom of the top 10. Where you have JSN, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Jets, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, Terrence McLaurin, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's your top 10. Amon-Ra and Brandon Ayuk both make $30 million a year. So 10, 11 right there. So effectively, Spotrac, when you look at the market value, you think he's just above that, but in the top 10. I do not. I do not think Chris Olave is a top 10 receiver in the NFL. But I'm going to say this because I just want to be on the record so I can be. So when we come back after he gets his new deal and he plays out this season or the terms of the contract, we're going to bookmark this. We're going to come back, and I'm either going to be right or going to be wrong. And we'll talk about it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think I'm going to be right. ESPN is doing this series where they ask NFL coaches and executives anonymously the best players at each position in the NFL. And I like this because it's coaches and executives. It's people in it every day, and they were given anonymity, so they're going to be honest. So today they released the receiver rankings. Here's your top 10. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, JSN 3, Puka 4, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Nico Collins, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams. That's your top 10. Honorable mention, Malik Neighbors, of course. Mike Evans, Zay Flowers, Tyreek Hill, Drake London, Jamison Williams. And then, after honorable mention, they have also receiving votes. I'm going in order, by the way. I'm not changing up the order. Alec Pierce, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., Tiger, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave. So these NFL coaches and executives that were asked anonymously to rank the best receivers in the NFL have Chris Olave 26th, which has basically been my point about Olave all along. He is not a true elite, game-breaking, dynamic number one. The top 10 I mentioned, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, JSN, Puka, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Nico Collins, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams. Those are dudes that are legit game-altering, game-breaking number ones. Chris Olave is a very good receiver. He's a very good receiver. I think he could be maybe the best number 2 in the NFL, which I think is what the Saints are eyeballing and bringing in Jordan Tyson. I think they think Jordan Tyson can be a true, legit, game-breaking number 1, and then Chris Olave becomes the accent piece. But I think they're going to pay him $30 million a year, which is a mistake. For the record, Olave's rookie deal, he's on a 4-year, $19.2 million contract, which averages out to $4.8 million a year. Okay? Based on that ranking from the NFL coaches and executives who were given anonymity to vote on this thing, they have Chris Olave 26th, the 26th best receiver in the NFL, which I think is appropriate. I think that's probably where he is. He's probably somewhere in the 20s. If you look at the average salary, the average annual value by rank in the NFL, number 26 is Michael Pittman at $17.5 million a year. That looks good to me. That's about what I would be willing to pay Chris Olave because he's not a number 1. He is not the guys we mentioned, where JSN is getting $42 million a year, Jamar's at $40.2, Drake London's at $35, Jets is at $35, CeeDee Lamb's at $34, DK Metcalf's at $33. All the guys, Garrett Wilson's at $32.5, Terry McLaurin at $32, A.J. Brown at $32, all Amon-Ra's at $30. All the guys who we talked about on that list, the top 10, which, by the way, it maps, doesn't it? The top 10 receivers on that list in the NFL that these coaches and executives put, they're the top 10 paid receivers in the NFL because they're the best guys. Again, I think I know what's going to happen. I think the New Orleans Saints are going to pay Chris Olave like a top 10 receiver in the NFL, and I think that's a mistake. I am just using this instance not to rant and rave and scream and yell about what they should do, because it doesn't matter what I say. They're going to do what they want to do, and they've pretty much illustrated that. I'm just going on the record so you know my take. And I agree with a whole bunch of coaches and executives in the NFL that say Chris Olave is the 26th best receiver in the league, which I think is about where he is. You go, man, but look at his catches last year. That's because he also was at the top of the league in targets, because the rest of the receiving core last year were dudes that they plucked off of Bourbon Street. some of whom I literally don't even remember. Ronnie Bell. Who's Ronnie Bell? I literally have no idea who that is. Anybody? You know who Ronnie Bell is? Where he came from? I don't know. Do you know? College?
Nah, I can look it up, not off the top of my head.
I don't think you do. No, it's not like, I don't know who the hell Ronnie Bell is. Doesn't matter. I mean, you had one guy, so he got all the targets. You want to watch that productivity plummet this year? Well, you had Jordan Tyson and Jalen Polk coming off of injury, and you had Oscar Delp at tight end and Noah Fant at tight end, and another year with Shuck. I mean, and you get Devon Vele back off of injury. Well, now all of a sudden, you got more weapons, more options for Shuck to throw to, and Olave's targets are going to go down, so the productivity is going to go down. You don't pay that dude like a top 10 receiver in the NFL. I think they're gonna, and I think that's a huge mistake. Just for the record. All right, it's After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. southpointvw.com. Yes, brand new Volkswagens, but remember, my buddy Mr. Kerry Manuel is the certified pre-owned manager over at South Point Volkswagen, and because they are Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer, they move more Volkswagens, which means they get more trade-ins. Right? You bring it, you trade in your old car to get your new vehicle. So they have a huge selection of certified pre-owns, all different makes and models. So get them by the website at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. If you hit the used tab at the top, search inventory, you'll see every vehicle, every used vehicle. If it's on the lot, it's online right now. Volkswagens in all different makes and models. There's a 2020 Subaru Outback. There's a 2022 Honda CR-V, a 23 Volkswagen Taos Sport Edition. Again, check them all out at southpointvw.com. 4th of July savings is still going on right now at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland or southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? Okay, it's After Further Review. Let's knock out a quick break, y'all. Kyle Wood's coming up next. He's with Athlon. Not super high on LSU this year. We'll ask Kyle why. Then Josh Edwards at the bottom of the hour. Josh usually joins us to talk about the NFL draft. A little bit of a different angle on these New Orleans Saints with Josh Edwards we're going to get to at the bottom of the hour. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon. Get it done. Gordon McKernan, Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. Always encourage you to go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. And one of the things you can see at getgordon.com are client results. So there's client results and testimonials. There's a tab right at the top of the page, and you can go through a list of actual client results from Gordon and his team and some of their attorneys in the past and what they've been able to do successfully recouping funds for injured people in Louisiana. You click the tab right at the top of the homepage at getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Lots of different ways that you can get in touch with Gordon and his team over at Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. If you'd like, you can go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, or you can always chat with an associate by calling 888-8888, 888-8888 for Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Get Gordon. Get it done. I got a text on the show text line from a listener who's Mitch is his name. Said, Matt, what do you recommend at supper club, steaks or the other stuff? I said, well, depends. What do you like? He said steak or scallops. I said, well, you better go steak if it's steak or scallops. He said, my wife likes the Chilean sea bass. Have you ever tried it? I'll tell you this much. The Chilean sea bass at supper club is, this is not an exaggeration, I think that is the best piece of fish I have ever eaten anywhere ever. Now, I'm a steak guy, and I go to supper club, and I'm going to get a steak at supper club. But if you don't love steak, you can still have one of the most incredible dining experiences of your life. Not only the meal, but the dining experience itself being at Supper Club. It's right there on Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. Book your reservation today. SupperClubBTR.com. That's SupperClubBTR.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
On Monday, we'll be in Tampa at SEC Football Media Days, and we will, ad nauseum, begin to dissect and unpack and preview the upcoming college football season. Kyle Wood took a stab at doing that over at Athlon and took a look at the LSU Tigers and if they could maybe find their way to the college football playoff year one under Lane Kiffin. And Kyle's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Hey, man, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, Matt. Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We appreciate the time. Let's not bury the lead. So you think the Tigers go 9-3 and are left looking in at the playoff? Why?
Yes, that was my prediction on Athlon Sports last week. I think the schedule, not breaking any news here, it's going to come down to these two-game stretches. And that's, of course, early in the season, the game that everyone is talking about, LSU at Ole Miss. And the game, you can't look over the following game of the next week against Texas A&M. And then later in the season, you have that stretch, Alabama and Texas. I think, these are 4 really tough games. You've got 3 teams that played for the college football playoff last season. The SEC expanding to 9 conference games this season. I think there's going to be a lot more losses. There's going to be 8 more losses to go around the conference. Mm-hmm. Those have to show up somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if they go 10-2 and get over the hump and end up in the CFP. But 9-3 is my prediction. I don't think that's an improvement on last year. It's about in line with what Brian Kelly's first season, regular season wise, was at LSU. So yeah, that's my 2026 prediction for the Tigers.
3 of those 4 games are in Tiger Stadium, but objectively, really, really tough games. Is there any other spot on the schedule? Maybe you call it a trap game, a letdown spot, whatever. Anything else on the schedule that you look at and you go, look out for that one? Maybe a team you think will be better this year than many are giving them credit for?
Yeah, I think there's some spots. I mean, I really don't think that you want to look over the opener. Much was made, of course, of the Clemson LSU game a season ago. The opener, big bout, and of course, the season did not go how either Tigers wanted. But I think that given all the focus on the Ole Miss game, I really don't think that you want to look ahead past the opener. I think there'll be plenty of excitement, so I wouldn't expect them to do so. And then the late season stretch that I mentioned, Alabama, Texas, and then at Tennessee, I think just with the quarterback situation at Tennessee, getting them later in the season as opposed to earlier, probably, figure things out. Maybe the Volunteers kind of have the offense rolling by later in the season. And again, that's a road game. Like you said, those games in Baton Rouge, really don't want to bet against the Tigers at home. But, going on the road at Tennessee late in the season, I think they could have a little bit of momentum there. So that's another game to watch.
Kyle, what's your thoughts on Auburn this year?
I like Auburn. I like Alex Golesh. Bringing it. I think that the model that that Auburn is employing. I mean, we've seen work, and just a coach bringing the quarterback, a large portion of their team from a group of 6, group of 5 program over to a power conference team. Just worked with Kurt Signetti at Indiana. We're seeing Oklahoma State. Messmaker, North Texas. A lot of American conference to SEC transition. So I'd say I'm relatively high on the Tigers as far as kind of ending that the bowl drought and the losing streak down there on the Plains.
I think that's going to be a fascinating spot on the schedule as well. LSU going for a sleepy 11 a.m. game at Jordan-Hare, which is never an easy place to play, man. That's one to circle if Byron Brown and Golesh, they work out in the SEC. We'll see. Kyle Wood is with us from Athlon. So let's go back to the LSU Tigers here for a second. So the games are tough, no doubt. I don't know that anyone there's no such thing as an easy schedule in the SEC. What, as far as LSU's roster, has you most concerned that it doesn't work out at an elite level for Lane Kiffin year one?
I think just kind of maybe you could say look at turnover on the offensive line and just the improvements. Everyone knows that the run game needs to improve, and I think there will be strides forward in that regard. Of course, getting a highly touted transfer like Jordan Seaton in to kind of anchor the offensive line, and the arrival of Sam Leavitt, but as well. But I think the run game is maybe the biggest concern, at least on offense, and then just kind of having Sam Leavitt fully healthy, ready to go, and just kind of protecting him, week 1 and beyond.
What about defensively?
Defensively, there's really not much to poke a hole in. I mean, I think bring Blake Baker back. You've got Whit Weeks in the middle, the additions up front and in the secondary. I think defensively, this team should be extremely strong with the amount of retention. I think, a little bit more turnover on the offensive side of the ball, but also, you want to say that you're going to trust Lane Kiffin to figure things out on that side.
One of the really interesting questions just about the SEC with the Kiffin departure from Ole Miss is not only how much does Lane Kiffin help boost LSU year one with the roster and all that stuff, but what does the absence of Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss, that offensive staff mean in Oxford, where they return Chambliss and Lacey, but you lose the maestro? So what's the thought on Ole Miss?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like you said, we can't talk about it being an addition, coaching staff wise for LSU without it being a departure for Ole Miss there. I think what you said about just the retention of, bringing back the quarterback running back combo, one of the best quarterbacks and one of the best running backs in the conference definitely is going to do well to keep some of the momentum there. And I think what the experience in postseason that Pete Golding just kind of got as a head coach sort of running the program, you can't, just overlook that, kind of, you could say first time head coach coming in this season, but I do think that, kind of cut his teeth in the playoff there and just the continuity in the backfield. I put a lot of stock into, just the duo of Chambliss and Lacey returning. It's
going to be fascinating to see. I don't think there's any sport in the world where coaching matters more in-game than football. You take those guys out, even with the talent remaining. What does that mean? I'm looking for it. Forgive me if I missed it, but did you make it a national championship pick yet, or is that coming up?
We have that in the magazine. Stephen Lasson and I at Athlon Sports. We had different takes, but I can share it here if you're ready.
Yeah, no, I'd love it.
I've got Ohio State versus Notre Dame in the national championship. That would, of course, be the SEC being left out of the. That'd be 4 years in a row. But yeah, I've got Ohio State, Notre Dame, and I got the Buckeyes.
I will be Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a fascinating one because they should just stroll into the playoff against this schedule, right? I think we all agree on that. It would take some massive undoing for Notre Dame not to be in the playoff against this schedule. My question is, if you're not challenged in the regular season, what happens when you get in? I think they play Miami, but what happens when you get into the playoff? Are you ready to punch up at a higher weight, which would be really interesting with Marcus Freeman's squad this year? How do you think that plays?
Yeah, no, I think that is a good point. I do think, the front half of that schedule, the Fighting Irish should be winning, most of those games by a couple scores. But the back half, of course, Miami, everyone's going to be focused on that game just with the sort of controversy over the playoff, the bowl fallout, all of that. But even 2 weeks before that, looking at the trip to BYU, BYU's, going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12 this year. You could say that last year as well, of course, played for the conference championship. Navy, one of the front runners in the American Conference this season, and then into the Miami game. So that's a pretty tough stretch. And then SMU, many people are picking to maybe face Miami in the ACC championship game. So I do think that Notre Dame might be tested. Of course they were last year with the losses that ended up keeping them out. But I do think that there are enough strong games that, if Notre Dame does end up in the playoff at an 11-1, I don't think that they will be not battle tested heading into that.
He is Kyle Wood from Athlon. He's at Kyle Wood on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, if you want to give him a follow. He's got the Tigers 9-3, just on the outside looking in of the playoff. Kyle, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep, it's our pleasure. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Yep, those beautiful roller shades. This time of year where it is hot, like if you're in your den, game room, sunroom, whatever, kitchen, and you want to make it a little more climate controlled or a little dimmer, those roller shades are a great way to do it. Just like the windows, the doors, the siding, the shutters, everything custom made for your home. Check out those beautiful roller shades. Go to the website, reliefwindows.com, reliefwindows.com. There's the shades tab right there at the top, just right at the bar. It's windows, doors, siding, shutter, shades. Hit the shades tab right there at the top, and simple. You can see, by the way, if you do shift work, maybe so you sleep during the day, great way to have these blackout roller shades right there. Check them out at Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Halfway home here on a Hump Day edition of AFR, Josh Edwards is going to join us next. By the way, the point about Notre Dame, if you're trying to sell me on BYU and SMU as challenging games, like, okay, like BYU was in the conference championship game a year ago. They got dump trucked twice by Texas Tech, but they were in the conference championship a year ago. Again, dump trucked twice by Texas Tech, who then in turn got dump trucked in the college football playoff. They didn't even get in the end zone. So that's an illustration of how weak this Notre Dame schedule is. It's Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Stanford, at BYU, open date, Navy, home against Miami, Boston College, SMU, at Syracuse. If Marcus Freeman doesn't make the playoff this year, fire him. Like, I haven't coached a day of football in my life. I'm pretty sure I could make the college football playoff with Notre Dame this year against that schedule. It's a freaking joke. All right, it's after further review. Now I got a quick break. Josh Edwards joins us next on AFR.
AFR.
If you're thinking about selling your home, call Darren James, get your home sold. Man, I'm so happy for my buddy Darren James. Just yesterday, I was sitting at my desk, thumbing through the business report, top 100, the 100 top 100 private companies in Baton Rouge. And yet again, Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT, on the list of the top 100 private companies in Baton Rouge. What a testament to hard work, doing things the right way, the systems, the people, all of the processes, and just treating people right, going above and beyond. Darren James has mastered customer service and going above and beyond for his clients, which is why I and so many others are quick to refer Darren, and it's how he's able to get to a closing table more often than literally any other realtor in the state of Louisiana. Top on the Wall Street Journal's list of the top 1,000 realtors in America, Darren James is in the top 15 in the country on that list. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Next week, we are at SEC Football Media Days in Tampa, and when we get home, the following Tuesday, the Saints report for training camp, and then we are right in it, barreling toward the preseason and year two of the Kellen Moore era where, I mean, the Saints have expectations for the first time since Sean Payton and Drew Brees are gone, and I think it's a little warranted. Josh Edwards, who we normally talk to from over at CBS, normally we talk to around draft time as a draft analyst, but he's got a piece out there about every NFC team and the biggest hole remaining in the roster. I thought it was a good conversation to have, so we welcome Josh onto the show. Yo, man, great to chat as always. How are you?
Doing well. Yeah, I actually enjoy doing those type of pieces because covering the NFL draft, you kind of need to have a feel for what needs each team has at any given point in the year. So it's always good to kind of refresh the memory of what moves were made this offseason and just get ready for the season.
So for the Saints, you say linebacker. Why?
There were a couple of positions that I considered, and really working through the offense, I was like, wow, they're in really good shape. You know, there's not really too much that I would do differently here. I like Oscar Delp. I like Travis Achan. I like Jordan Tyson. I like Bryce Lance. I like how all of those pieces fit. So I look on the defense. You lose DeMario Davis, who has been a staple of that unit for so long. And just to remove his leadership is, I think, going to be a loss, no matter how you look at it, because he coordinated the defense in addition to those game-changing plays that he would make. Cornerback, you know, I think there's some young guys there that could come along. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley, safety, Jonas Sanker. You know, they've got some young players in the system that I'm optimistic about. I'm hopeful to watch this season and be encouraged about their growth. Kristen Miller, I thought, was a good pick, the defensive lineman out of Georgia in the second round. So I think they've got some good young players on that side of the ball that lead me to believe that maybe the floor is, or the ceiling is a little bit lower at linebacker than it may end up being at some of those other positions.
So I completely agree with you on DeMario Davis. We are a huge DeMario Davis show. Hard not to be. He's incredible. Performance on the field, leadership, everything. But they made a decision that they weren't going to invest a multi-year contract into a 37-year-old player. I think it was stupid. That's what they did. But they went and added Caden Ellis. What are your thoughts on what type of transition, drop-off, like transitioning from Davis to Ellis?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit different. Obviously, coming over from Atlanta, he's had some good moments in his career. It's been a little bit more volatile than I think what you would come to expect from Demario Davis. And, speaking to that point itself, it seems the organization has made an investment in youth. They're embracing the youth that they have added. It, of course, started with Tyler Shuck, but moving on from Demario Davis and nearly moving on from Cameron Jordan this offseason, Marshawn Lattimore, they moved on recently. So it's just kind of a changing of the guard on defense, and I think that's why they've kind of made some of those decisions. But, it probably will result in a net loss for them on the field. But I do think that Caden Ellis and Pete Werner complement each other well. I'm just a little bit hesitant about the type of turnover-worthy plays they're going to be able to create in that spot.
Josh Edwards is with us at Edwards CBS is where you can get him on X. I want to kind of tap into your draft notes, because there are some young linebackers. So we know it's Ellis and Werner, and this could very well be Pete Werner's last season in New Orleans. We'll see. But they seem high on Danny Stutzman and Isaiah Stallbird and Jalen Ford as maybe guys that'll make the team and be groomed into the next, your real contributors there. Any of those three jump off the page to you as someone maybe worth keeping an eye on this year, Stutzman, Stallbird, or Jalen Ford?
I think Stutzman has the highest ceiling among that group, but at the same time, I was probably a little bit lower on him than the consensus coming out of Oklahoma. He's an incredibly talented player. I think his instincts at the linebacker position needed to develop a little bit more, and he is somebody that I think could lead to some of those turnover-worthy plays. So he would be one that I would watch in how he grows this offseason. But it would not surprise me if any of those guys, saw more playing time over the course of the season for the reasons that I already said. I think they're embracing youth, and if they can find some of those off-ramps to older players on the roster and build a bridge to the next generation of this Saints team, I think that's what they're looking to do.
Josh, there's a couple of other guys I want to ask you about, and maybe this is tapping a little bit back into the draft analysis. You did mention Christian Miller, but Miller and Lorenzo Styles were the two players on the defensive side that they drafted, right? Maybe if you could, if you remember your draft analysis or breakdown of those two guys, what do you think the Saints are getting there in Miller and Styles?
I think they are taking a very calculated risk on Christian Miller, because I think he may have been a year away from being that top half of the first round type draft pick. Had he had another year of seasoning, I think we may be talking about him a little bit different, because he is still a relatively young player. So I think taking the lottery ticket on them where they did was savvy, especially when you throw him into that group with Vernon Broughton and Brian Brezzi and, some of the other pieces that they've assembled along that unit. He's got great size. He obviously has great athleticism. I mean, Georgia doesn't recruit players that are limited in that regard. So I think that he is somebody that has a higher ceiling that we have not yet seen him reach. As it relates to Lorenzo Styles, he's somebody that has versatility. He can play safety. He can play the nickel, incredibly fast, as we saw at the NFL Combine. So he can wear different hats for your defense. And I think when you kind of look at the group that they've assembled, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley, Martin Emerson Jr., all three guys that I like. And I like TJ Hall quite a bit as well, the 7th-round pick out of Iowa. I thought they got great value there. There's length, there's size in that unit. So to now add a Lorenzo Styles who can step in and give you something a little bit different, he obviously has the athleticism. So let's bring him in the building and see what we can get out of him.
You think Hall's a safety or a corner?
That's tough. I think because of the long speed, he may ultimately have to make a move to safety. But when you watch him play, he's just so confident at the line of scrimmage. You don't really see him sacrifice a whole lot in terms of staying in phase up the boundary. So it's kind of unique watching him because I didn't necessarily see those speed concerns play out on film consistently. And then to show it at the combine, it was a little concerning. But if I had to guess, he's probably going to be used, big nickel slot type in the long run. But I think he's an incredibly smart, savvy player that's just going to find his way onto the football field somehow.
Josh, last guy I want to ask you about, and I know we've strayed. You read the piece over at CBSSports.com. The biggest remaining hole for every team for the Saints he has is linebacker. I want to ask about Xavier Harris because it seems like, but for the off-the-field stuff, this might have been a high draft pick, 6'7", 320 out of Ole Miss. If he's on the straight and narrow, did the Saints get a steal here with an undrafted player?
Potentially. He definitely is going to have to be more disciplined, especially with his pad level. I thought he played too high at times, which, as you stated, being as tall as he is, there's some of those natural limitations when you're that tall. But he's somebody that's incredibly physical when he wants to be. He can dominate multiple gaps, take over games. So if you're talking about like a Deion Walker type player that Buffalo has gotten, or some of these other bigger defensive tackles that are just going to occupy space, I think that frees some of those other guys up to do other things. Chase Young, Carl Granderson are now going to have more one-on-one opportunities. So if you're able to keep him focused on the goal and developing a professional career, he is somebody that could absolutely outplay where he was added. Obviously setting the bar pretty low as an undrafted free agent, but he is somebody that has, I think, higher potential than where he was still available. So that would be one that's fun to watch. Another one of those kind of lottery tickets. The Saints have a couple of defensive tackles that are going to be fun to watch. And ultimately, I think the growth of this defense is ultimately going to tell a tale of how the season plays out.
At Edwards CBS, Josh Edwards. Read him over at cbssports.com. Always appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. WilliamsonEye.com, WilliamsonEye.com. Two things I want to say about. One, get the consultation. If you've ever thought about a refractive procedure, look, the consultation is not a sales pitch. It's giving you your options, and they don't charge you for it. Virtual consults are available, so you can do it from your car, from your office, from home, from anywhere. WilliamsonEye.com, WilliamsonEye.com. By the way, it's like a max of 30 minutes. Probably won't even take 30 minutes, but WilliamsonEye.com. That's one. Two is eye exams. We're here into July. You're a couple of weeks, 3 weeks away from the kiddos heading back to school. Make sure before you get back to school, you get them that annual eye exam so they can see the board and all the stuff. WilliamsonEye.com. Eye care, eyewear, eye surgery. It's a full-service optical shop. It's the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. Okay, y'all, it is After Further Review. Glad you're hanging out with us here. Been a busy show. Burt Jones is number 7 being retired by LSU. We led the show with an interview with Burt Jones. So if you missed that, go catch it on demand. Former St. Grade Stan Brock was here. Kyle Wood from Athlon. You just heard Josh Edwards from CBS Sports. Done with guests. Got a ton to do, though, here in hour number 3, including exposing the 5-star myth. That's coming up here in about 16 minutes from right now. We'll knock out a break, come back. We used to do Tigers and the Pros. Stick around.
AFR.
Man, I love telling you about the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark Downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Watermark Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge's premier hotel property. Not me saying it. You said it. Best of 225. The best hotel in Baton Rouge. Watermark Baton Rouge. If you've not been to Watermark Baton Rouge, you got to make time to go. You got to, I know sometimes in Baton Rouge, we stay in our own little bubble. Whatever your neighborhood is, whatever part of town you live, it's where you go to the restaurants, it's where you go to the park, it's whatever you do, you stay in your bubble. I'm trying to push you to get downtown. Now, Watermark is awesome for hosting an event. And listen, the Best Dressed, the Capitol Gala is coming up in a few weeks in the middle of August. A lot of people, that's down at the River Center, a lot of people, instead of getting a car, an Uber, or driving home, they decide to make a full weekend of it. Book a room at Watermark. It's walkable right down 3rd Street. It's walkable to the River Center. It's Watermark Baton Rouge. Check out great dining restaurant there. It's at Watermark Baton Rouge. If you are thinking about a metal building, you want Proform Steel. Proformla.com, proformla.com. I'll give it to you again, proformla.com. Go to the website, top right, you'll see request a quote, super easy. They get your quote right there, lickety-split. This is metal buildings done right from design to delivery. It's Proform Steel. My guy Brandon Golson, like if you're familiar with, have needed metal buildings, like you know who Brandon is, you know the work ethic, the business ethics that he has, the quality of work. But when it comes to Proform Steel, like this is the new endeavor, you're going to get faster lead times, and every delivery is free. Buy metal building from Proform Steel, they'll deliver it for free. Proformla.com.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Well, they teased it. Now we see it. Tyler Shuck, there on social media, put out a post, Saints in San Diego. And it's a photo of quarterbacks and the receivers in San Diego with, of course, New Orleans Saint legend Drew Brees, who, by the way, is a Parrish Construction and Roofing partner. How about that?
That's very true.
Parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Maybe in the next photo, we'll get Drew to wear a Parrish shirt. I'd love to do that. I love this for so many reasons, obviously. Having Drew Brees involved is obviously massive. I mean, you have a Pro Football Hall of Famer, one of the greatest ever, mentoring a young quarterback who's going into year 2, is trying to take ownership of the team. And for Shuck, what an awesome opportunity for him to be and establish himself as the leader, the centerpiece, and develop those relationships as well. So much of that happens in the offseason, and you have to love this with all these guys there working out with Tyler Shuck on their own, right, in the offseason. And, of course, Drew Brees there in San Diego. So pretty cool. If you want to see it on social media, Tyler Shuck posted on Twitter. I'm sure he did on Instagram as well. And there's also a video of Drew Brees doing some weird thing with like a weighted donut. Like, I don't even know what that is. There's Tyler Shuck bending that weighted donut thing. Look, I've worked out my whole life. I don't know what the hell. You know what that is? I don't know what that is. That thing.
Dude, the donut looks like something you would sit on. Like, that doesn't look like it helps you your strength at all.
I don't know. It's clearly weighted, which is why it would help your strength. It's clearly weighted, but there's Drew Brees.
Hey, look, if Drew Brees is doing it, there's got to be some merit to it. I mean, she's the GOAT. It's Drew Brees.
Got to be.
He's not going to waste his time.
And, you know, Drew's a partner of Parrish Construction and Roofing.
It's true.
Parrishbuilt.com. Oh, by the way, we are giving away 2 free fortified roofs. Parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Next Friday, so the Friday week back from Media Days, that's the deadline to enter. 1 Baton Rouge area homeowner, 1 New Orleans area homeowner. Not in Baton Rouge, New Orleans proper, Greater Baton Rouge, Greater New Orleans. So go to the website, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Right on the homepage, parrishbuilt.com, you'll see 2 shield logos. One will say, like, roof giveaway Baton Rouge. One will say, like, roof giveaway New Orleans. Click whichever one is relevant. It'll take you right to the page to sign up. Parrishbuilt.com. There it is right there. Parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. It's me and Terry O'Tilley and Drew Brees. I said it when we announced it. Drew is not a paid endorser. Like, he is now an equity partner in Parrish Construction and Roofing. We're thrilled to have Drew Brees as a partner. Still pretty surreal to say it. Parrishbuilt.com. Parrishbuilt.com. All right, it's after further review. Musso. Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
Adam Schefter reports here on Wednesday that... No. What? For Shefty?
You didn't give me any yesterday. I'm fiending.
I mean, look, man, we Major League Baseball's back tomorrow. We might have some action there. But Shefty reports today on Wednesday that former Tiger Ethan Posick has now been medically cleared after suffering a torn Achilles back in December. Posick is a full go, according to Adam Schefter. Spent the last 4 seasons with Cleveland. He is a free agent, but in his career, 57 games, 40 starts. Of course, was a second-round pick back in 2017. He's healthy. He's full go. Somebody sign Ethan Posick, you cowards.
I saw Posick at Supper Club this offseason. Eric and I, when were we there? Eric and I were having dinner. Can't remember. Anyway, and Ethan was there. He had obviously was injured. He was in a boot and one of the little scooter things.
That's what I was going to ask, if he had a scooter.
Yeah, the little scooter, the little knee scooter. And
Love the knee scooter.
Wheeled over, and we got to chat for a few minutes. Dude is a unit and one of the nicest freaking guys ever. And they live here. He and his wife and their kiddos, they live here in the offseason, which is awesome. So a guy from Illinois went to school here and has a home here.
Love that,
really
man.
Cool.
Love that. Scone, while you were out, we had a report from Jordan Renan about Malik Neighbors and that he was expected to miss the first few weeks of the regular season now. Well, Jim Harbaugh was given timeline updates, and the timeline he gave on a lens to that report being true, said that Neighbors will still be working his way into practice as camp gets started, and they're not actually sure to what degree he'll be working his way into practice. So he didn't confirm it, but the timeline he gave lends to that report being true from Jordan Renan that Malik Neighbors will miss the first couple of games of the regular season. Markel Sutton with the Sacramento Kings in Summer League action last night, played 18 minutes. Really showed out on the defensive end, a couple of rebounds and a block, and then 3 assists in the ballgame. Only attempted 2 shots. I did miss both of those. Matinee action in Summer League today. It's where we find former Tiger Will Baker. 9 points, 50% from the floor, a rebound and assist. Clap it up for Will Baker. That's Tigers in the pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com. I refuse. Awful headband. Lee Mike, you know what you don't get at Lee Michaels? Awful headbands. That's what you don't get. How many LSU fans do you think even remember that Will Baker played basketball?
Not many.
He had a good year. And he had a really good year at LSU.
5%
Markel
of LSU fans.
Sutton. How many LSU fans could list Markel Sutton's jersey number or where Markel Sutton came from before LSU? Wow, basketball. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. I can find Lee Michaels for you. Right there in corporate in Bocage, Mall of Louisiana. 9 locations in all: Lafayette, New Orleans, Shreveport, and online at lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Also, the Baton Rouge Business Report's top 100 private companies in Baton Rouge. Congrats to Scott and the gang over at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Okay, y'all, wrapping up hour number 2. Sports Center is right around the bend.
AFR.
Man, I'm so thrilled to announce our new partnership with Hancock Whitney Bank, official bank of LSU Athletics and the official bank of the New Orleans Saints and the official bank of Scone. Quite literally, for as long as I've had a checking account, I've been a Hancock Whitney customer. Obviously, Hancock and Whitney merged years ago, but for as long as I've had a bank, Hancock Whitney has been my bank, and I've been so thrilled. My branch is the branch right there on Highland near I-10. They recognize me when I walk in. It makes transactions so much easier, and they're so helpful. And the services that they have as they've expanded across the region, I mean, there's like 300 ATMs across the region. So anytime I travel, generally, I'm going to be able to find a Hancock Whitney ATM or branch if I need it. It's Hancock Whitney Bank. And you can learn more at HancockWhitney.com/Matt. My name, HancockWhitney.com/Matt.